Lists and Loops, Part 2. What did we do in Part 1? In Part 1, we learned about lists and loops. We learned how to add elements, change elements, delete elements, and lots more about lists and elements. We learned how to code a small for loop and what ranges, and lots more inbuilt functions. Today in Part 2 of Lists and Loops, we will learn how to make small amazing pieces of code using both lists and loops. We will learn how to use loops to explore lists and learn more about loops themselves. So let's begin. For Part 2 of Lists and Loops, we're going to start where we left off in Part 1. We're going to make a list called Magicians. So let's say we're having a show, and the people that came to do magic tricks were David, Alice, and Carl. And we made a small for loop that accessed each element and printed it. So first it would be David, then Alice, and then Carl. To do this, we would do for I, or any random variable, in Magicians, because that's our list name, colon, you always need that colon. If you don't have the colon, it won't work. And then when you press enter, you're going to have an insert, a space, and then print I. And when we run this, it'll tell us David, Alice, and Carl. Now we're going to add on to this. Let's say I do for I in Magicians, print I.title, because these are names. They need to be titled or capitalized in the beginning. So I.title plus a string that, let's say, is a fantastic magician. And when I run this, it gives us David's a fantastic magician, Alice is a fantastic magician, Carl is a fantastic magician. So basically my point is that you can print anything in your for loops and it will repeat it every time. So you can even add more. It doesn't have to be one line, it can be as many lines as you want. You can print another thing like, wow, I can't wait to see the act. Plus, let's say their names. I.title. And when we run this, it would say, David is a fantastic magician. Wow, I can't wait to see the act. I can't wait to see the act, David. Alice is a fantastic magician. Wow, I can't wait to see the act, Alice. Carl is a fantastic magician. Wow, I can't wait to see the act, Carl. So basically, you can type as many things as you want. So enough about lists, but let's go to range. We know that range is basically something that goes to a series of numbers. If I do 1 to 100, it means 1 to 99. So 1, 2, 3, all the way to 99. I could do 1 to 50. And it'll go 1 to 49. 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 49. It doesn't always have to be 1. It could be 5, 10, 100. It doesn't matter. Basically, it'll print whatever. If you do the for loop, it'll print anything inside it. So we're going to make a small for loop using range. We're going to do for b in range 5 to 10, let's say, print b. And when we run this, it'll print 5 to 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can also put this in lists. So what I mean by this is, what if we wanted to make a list, but we wouldn't hard-code it? Hard-code meaning we wouldn't write it, but the computer would make it. How do we do this? this is how. Let's say our list is going to be called numbers. But instead of making a list here, we're going to put a line of code. We're going to put a function called list. And inside it, of the brackets, we're going to put a range, 5 to 10. And we're going to print our numbers afterward. And when we run this, let's see what happens. It makes a list of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see that this range, or the numbers in range, is a list it made. So you can guess what this list function does. It basically makes what's ever inside a list. You can use list for multiple things. Let's say random is equal to list. I can put a string in small string. It'll become, let's say, cat. Now, when I print random, it's not going to give me cat, but it's going to give me a list. Inside would be cat. Cat. And they're separate strings, too. So, this is one way to make a list without hard coding it. But we're going to show you another way. And we're going to do that using square. Now, square means if I have, let's say, 2 as my number, then the square of 2 would be 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. If I said square of 3, then the square of 3 would be 9, because 3 times 3 is 9. 1 would be 1, because 1 times 1 is 1, and so on and so forth. To do this, we're going to first make a list called squares is equal to this, a list. And then we're going to put for value in range 1 to 11, or 1 to 10, square is equal to value squared. And to write squared, we would put 2 multiplication signs and then a 2. This is basically just squaring it. It's saying square, not squares, not the list, but another random variable, is equal to the value squared. We're going to take one value and see what happens. Let's say in the first time, value will become 1. So when I do 1, square will become 1, because 1 squared is 1 times 1, and 1 times 1 is 1. So what do we do with this 1? Well, we're trying to make squares equal to square of numbers. So we're going to have to append. In part 1, we learned how to add elements to lists, and that's exactly what we're going to do here, using append. We're going to do squares dot append square. So when we print square at the end, it will be a list of all the squares. See? And we know this is correct because first it's going to be 1 times 1, which is 1. Then it's going to be 2 times 2, which is 4. Then it's going to be 3 times 3, which is 9. Then it's going to be 4 times 4, which is 16. 5 times 5, 25. 6 times 6, 36. 7 times 7, 49. 8 times 8, 64. 9 times 9, 81. And 10 times 10 is 100. So it prints the squares. Now we're going to learn a bit more about numbers, and then go back to squares. So we're going to have something called digits, a list called digits. And inside will be simply a bunch of numbers or digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you can honestly put anything. You can randomize it, anything. I'm going to put another one called digit 1, or 2, and make another list which randomizes it. 2, 5, 4, 7, 8, 10, 3. Now we're going to max it. What we mean by max is find the maximum digit in digit, the list digit, and the list digit 2. To do this, we simply print max, the function max, and inside of the brackets put digit. The same thing goes for digit 2. You would print max brackets digit 2. And what this would do is for max digit, it would print the maximum digit. And for this 40, number line 40, it would print the maximum digit in digit 2. And it prints 1010. And that's correct, because the maximum digit in digit is 10. And the maximum digit in digit 2 is also 10. And you can guess what happens in min. Minimum or min. Print. Min, which is also another function, brackets, digit, and you do the same thing for digit 2. Print, min, bracket, digit 2. So we'll be doing the same thing as what max did, except do the opposite, minimum. It prints 1 and 2, and that's correct as well. In digit, the least number, or the smallest number, is 1. And in digit 2, the least or smallest number is 2. You can do the same thing with sum. You can go print sum digit and go print sum digit 2. And basically sum is going to add all those numbers up. An easy way to do lots of addition at once. And, well, we can't really prove it unless you can add, but it's probably right because it's doing 55 and 39. And we're going to do digit 2 since it's smaller. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 7 is 18. 18 plus 8 is 26. 26 plus 10 is 36. 36 plus 3 is 39. And that's what it had for digit 2. So we know it's doing right. If you want, you can try out for digit, this list digit, and it's going to be probably right. Now we're going to go to squares again. We know that in this way we did squares, we use a couple lines of code. But is there a way to just do it in 2 lines of code? And yes it is. To do this, we would do squares is equal to a list. We're not going to put the actual stuff inside it, but we're going to put this. Value squared for value in range 1 to 11. Print squares. So we can see this faint yellow line, but we're not really sure what it means. And I think it was that. We spelled value wrong. But that doesn't matter right now. What is this doing? Let's run it to make sure what it does. So it prints a list that contains the squares. It does the same thing as what the previous squares did. But this was so much easier. You only could put it in 2 lines. This segment or code here is doing exactly what this did, but simply in 1 line. Value squared, meaning the value squared for value in range 1 to 11. Now we're going to talk about slicing lists. We're going to have another list called color is equal to a list which has the words red, green, blue, and yellow. And we're going to print colors. prints red, green, blue, yellow. Now, when we think about slicing something, we think about cutting it. Well, when I say slicing lists, you're thinking about cutting it in half, right? You would think, make these two things separate. How do we do this? It's actually quite simple. All you have to do is do colors, brackets, and then put something like 0 to 2. Now what is this doing? This is saying the index 0, or red in this case, because remember, in part 1 we learned that in Python it goes from 0 to 3 instead of 1 to 4. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3 instead of 1, 2, 3, 4. So index 0, or red, 2, or all the way up to the index 2, or element 2, which is 0, 1, 2, blue. So what this would do is it would print red, green, and blue, and not print yellow. So you're slicing your list, like this. Now you would think it would print red, green, and blue, but it doesn't print blue. It only prints green. Why? Well, remember, in part 1, we also noted down that when we're doing range or something like that, it always had one less than what we asked at the end. So you can think of the same thing here. Instead of printing blue as 2, it would think this as 1. And since we're starting from the beginning, we don't always have to put 0. You can simply just do print colors, bracket, 2. And it'll print the first element all the way up to the second, or first in this case. See, they do the same thing. You can do anything too. You don't always have to start from the beginning. You can do colors 1 to 2, or 1 to 3. And when you do this, you'll get green and blue. And you can see that so far we've only done 2, but you can do as many as you like. You can do it all the way, print colors from, or the first one to the third one, or blue, meaning 1, 2, 3. And when we print it, it got red, green, blue. You can also do this the other way around. You can do print colors from 2 all the way up to the last element. And do blue to yellow. You can also print the last 3 or last 2 colors simply by doing print colors bracket -2. And when you run this, it print us blue and yellow because there's the last 2 things. You can also do -3 and then it'll print green, blue, and yellow. Green, blue, yellow. Another way to access the last couple of elements. So how do we loop through this slice? Is it possible? And yes, it is. It is possible. All you have to do is you do for I in colors, and then whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to do -3, colon, remember, you always get that colon, print I.title, print that's a nice color. And when we run this, it'll print the ones we asked it for, green, blue, and yellow. See, there's no red. It prints green, that's a nice color. Blue, that's a nice color. Yellow, that's a nice color. No red. So you can loop through your slice. You can also copy lists. Instead of just having one list, you can have 2 lists that are the same thing in an easier way. You can use this when wanting to only change, you want to change that, but you also want it to be staying like that. You can make copies of it. to do this, it's quite simple. Make another variable. I'm going to name mine colors2 is equal to colors, all of them. So colors2 would basically be equal to the same thing, because when we print colors2, we would get red, green, blue, yellow. And just to make sure colors is the same thing, we'll print it after. And when we run it, it gets the same thing. Red, red, green, green, blue, blue, yellow, yellow. So that's it. So this is it for part 1 and part 2 in lists and loops. So, bye.